Welcome, history enthusiasts. Today, we're rediving into one of the most unbelievable and utterly bizarre true stories from American history, a tale so strange you might think it's fiction. Imagine a disaster that wasn't caused by fire, flood, or earthquake, but by something far sweeter and far more deadly. We're talking about a sticky, brown wave of destruction that crashed through a major American city, leaving chaos, death, and a lingering scent that some say lasted for decades. Get ready for the Great Boston Molasses Flood of 1919. Our story begins in Boston's bustling North End, a vibrant, densely populated neighborhood home to many immigrant families. It was January 15th, 1919, a strangely warm day for midwinter, with temperatures hovering around 40 degrees Fahrenheit. The mood was optimistic. World War I had just ended, and Prohibition was about to begin. But looming over Commercial Street, a massive 50-foot-tall steel tank dominated the skyline. It belonged to the Purity Distilling Company, a subsidiary of U.S. Industrial Alcohol. Inside it, over 2 million gallons of thick, dark, syrupy molasses. This wasn't for baking. It was destined to be distilled into industrial alcohol, a crucial ingredient for wartime munitions and, ironically, Prohibition-era liquor. Now, this tank had a dark secret. It was a rush job, built quickly in 1915 with little oversight. Workers had reported alarming groans and creaks from the tank, and molasses often seeped through its seams, collecting in pools around its base. Locals even collected it for their cooking. But warnings from engineers about the tank's structural integrity were ignored. At approximately 12:30 p.m. on that fateful January day, disaster struck. Residents later reported hearing a deep rumbling, followed by a terrifying roar like a machine gun or an elevated train derailing. The enormous tank ruptured with an explosive force. A gigantic wave of molasses, roughly 15 feet high and 160 feet wide, burst forth. It moved at an astonishing 35 miles per hour, an unstoppable, sticky tsunami. The wave tore through the neighborhood with brutal efficiency. Buildings were ripped from their foundations. Wagons, cars, and even an elevated train structure were swept away. Horses were drowned. People found themselves instantly submerged, caught in the suffocating, freezing, viscous current. Eyewitnesses described horrific scenes. Children playing in the streets were swallowed whole. A fire station was demolished, trapping firefighters. The molasses itself, at 40 degrees, felt bone-chillingly cold, and its density made it incredibly difficult to move through. People struggled, then succumbed, drowning or dying from impact injuries. The initial response was chaotic. Rescuers, including sailors from a nearby naval vessel, rushed to help, but navigating the sticky, chest-deep goo was agonizing. Horses, trapped and struggling, had to be shot. Firefighters used salt water from the harbor to try and wash away the molasses, but it only made it thicker and harder to remove. In the immediate aftermath, 21 people were killed and over 150 were injured. But the disaster didn't end there. The cleanup was an epic task. For weeks, hundreds of workers tried to remove the molasses. Sand was used to soak it up, and saltwater hoses sprayed continuously. The entire North End and parts of the Boston Harbor were coated. Streets were caked, homes were ruined, and the very air was thick with the overwhelming, cloying scent of molasses. It was an odor that would reportedly linger for decades, especially on hot summer days. But the story of the Great Molasses Flood is more than just a bizarre accident. It led to one of the most groundbreaking legal battles in American history. The U.S. Industrial Alcohol Company predictably denied responsibility. They initially blamed anarchists, claiming the tank was bombed. However, the bereaved families and injured survivors demanded justice. They launched a massive class action lawsuit against the company, an unprecedented move for its time. The trial lasted for 6 long years, involving over 3,000 witnesses and countless hours of testimony. The company's defense was aggressive, but the evidence mounted against them. Engineers testified about the shoddy construction, the ignored warnings, and the clear negligence in not properly testing the tank before filling it to capacity. Finally, in 1925, a court-appointed auditor delivered his verdict. The U.S. Industrial Alcohol Company was found directly responsible for the disaster due to negligent construction and maintenance of the tank. The company was ordered to pay damages totaling around $600,000, which today would be tens of millions of dollars. This wasn't just about money. It was a monumental legal precedent. The Molasses Flood case became a landmark in American law. It solidified the principle of corporate responsibility for engineering defects and established the need for rigorous safety standards in construction. Out of this sticky tragedy came crucial changes: new building codes, stricter engineering certification requirements, and a greater emphasis on corporate accountability for public safety. Today, the site of the Great Molasses Flood is part of a park and athletic facility. Only a small plaque commemorates the tragic events of that day. But the lessons learned from the sticky tragedy resonate to this day, reminding us that even the most seemingly harmless substances can become instruments of devastation when corporate oversight fails. It's a truly astonishing chapter in history, a story of a silent killer made of sugar, the shocking negligence behind it, and the lasting legal legacy it left for all of us. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through history. If you found this story as surprising and captivating as we did, please give this video a like. And for more amazing untold stories from the past, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next historical adventure. Until next time.